Welcome to the Simmons Sporting Goods All Things Hunting Podcast, brought to you by Browning Firearms, the best there is, Realtree Outdoors, Swarovski Optik, Browning Ammo, and Banded Waders. Here's your hosts, Caleb Wallace, Cole Barthel, and Kyle Bearfield.
We good on sound?
Yeah. Everybody give me a little. I've been listening to everybody. I think everybody's good.
Check, check.
Check.
Check. Cole's got his. He's going to wiggle his 4 or 5 times.
I'm going to eat some ice while we're talking.
I can hear it. May turn Cole's down. We'll just turn it up if we ask him something we want to hear.
Hey, please do that. Please do that.
No, we're finna ask you some product knowledge questions, see how up to from you are on your Swarovski knowledge.
I got to have one more shoot with him.
Yeah.
One more shoot.
We got one coming sometime this spring, I think, with y'all.
You got to do it in August.
All right, Caleb, you want to kick us off here?
I will kick us off. Are we ready? We good? Welcome back to the Simmons Sporting Goods All Things Hunting Podcast. We got some exciting stuff going on. It's time to get out and shoot and work on guns for next year. And any of y'all that listen to the podcast or watch the show know that one of our title sponsors is Swarovski Optik, who's been a big partner of ours here at Simmons Sporting Goods. We're proud to be one of their top dealers, here in the country. And Thomas Schuenemeyer from Swarovski Optik's joining us today to talk a little bit about their product and some cool hunts he's been on. And he was Thomas was abandoned in the Alaskan wilderness for about 20 days this fall. He was
we got
MOA.
Got stuck up in Kodiak an extra 6 or 7 days on a brown bear stalk, and as well as Sitka, and tried to chase goats, but we got iced out pretty early, so that ended.
Wow.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I prepared for it, and then really didn't get the exercising I did, so a little bit frustrating, but that's part of the hunting. And from what I learned too, that's especially part of the hunting on Kodiak Island. So
You killed a blacktail on that hunt?
I did, Sitka blacktail, and it was more of an accident than a stalk. We're just glassing bears, and it's right in the mid rut up there, and so they're chasing. Doe comes across 150 and look over at the guides, and their eyes got big and said, "You need to take this one."
Buck was behind her.
So he had 161 or something like that, and I think it ended up being 96 and 3/8 or something, which for a whitetail hunter, you're like, well, is that good? And then we get up there, and all the guys are like, that's that good. So
Thomas sent me this picture from once he got service. I was like, hell, you could have come to the farm and killed that. And then I get to researching it. I was like, oh heck, that's a pretty good size blacktail there.
Yeah, I probably should have done a little more research on the blacktail going into that to appreciate it better, but when you get the guys excited, that's usually a go time.
That's a good sign. Yeah. Yes, that's right.
Anybody, you talk about preparation for that hunt, anybody going into that or thinking about it or whatever, what do you take on a hunt like that? How do you prepare for that?
So, that hunt was a little bit different, bear camp versus, going up to the Chugach, which we had done 2 years previous. Easily the hardest hunt I've done. That's a full take everything you got in. This hunt, we kind of had a camp. It ended up being a really, really nice camp. As far as southern Kodiak Island, Dead Man Bay area, but for that, it's layering systems with clothing, very important. You learn that pretty quick.
What was the temp usually?
Well, anywhere from, the thing is the wind chills.
Right.
You don't always read that on your reports, but we were getting, and part of the reason we got stuck was the 40 to 60 mile an hour wind gusts, sustained 30, and those are days it's just. You get out there and you're amped to get out there, and 2 or 3 hours in, you're either doing push-ups or doing 100-yard walks back and forth just to stay warm, because you can only glass like that for so long. But no, other preparation, obviously I'm biased on the optics, but getting optics for your specific style of hunting. So, you're glassing off the beaches, which requires usually a little bit bigger spotter because you're, magnifying in a little farther. But on that goat hunt, that new little ATC was awesome, and the guys hadn't seen it, and I don't think we quite really launched it yet, or at least had product in the field. So to get out and test it was awesome. Because when you're going straight up, weight's everything.
Yes.
So talk about the ATC a little bit, because we're in an area here in North Louisiana where we don't sell a lot of spotting. We sell a lot of optics here, but we don't sell a lot of spotting scopes here.
Yep.
And the new ATC is more compact, can be used a lot easier with a window mount, and I can see us selling way more of those than your traditional spotter.
And that's why I'm super excited about it, right? Most spotters are really geared towards a specific application. Well, this one kind of crosses really all of our markets, from hunting, nature observation, and specifically on hunting, whether it's a pack hunt or guys buying these big redneck blinds and investing quite a bit in that, and just putting it on a window mount and being able to get 17 to 40 magnification on an animal without really taking up much room. I mean,
right.
It's not much bigger than this water bottle, to be honest.
Caleb does a lot of nature observation.
Yes, that's what I've heard.
I do some nature observation.
We'll call it scouting.
Scouting.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
One thing I didn't
Not a killer, he's an observer.
One thing I didn't think about on that spot scope, when you look at it, you're like, man, this little spotting scope, this is going to be great in my pack. Well, you can put a little spotting scope on a little tripod,
Yep.
and it still work really good.
And
that cuts a lot of weight when you don't have to
exactly.
tote a big tripod around too. And we found that out I'm going to say the easy way, because we figured out it wasn't as bad. But
Yep. You guys got to toy with it quite a bit, huh?
it's good.
Yeah.
Used it on an all-dad hunt in West Texas and up in Montana at 7J. We got to look at deer. They had a bad EHD kill off up there, so we didn't kill one, but had a good hunt. And then through the season, it's been really good. Every guide or outfitter that we're with and we show it to, they're like, I've had 2 of them call me since then. Man, can I buy it? Where can I buy that? Can I buy that one? They try to buy it from us on the hunt usually, but it's a really good.
No, we're
deal.
still trying to fill the back orders on it. Obviously with it hitting every market, there's more demand than maybe we thought off the bat. And you look at it before you see it. See it in a PowerPoint before you get to see it. The eyepiece is so freaking forgiving.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and so many of those mini spotters are really just any of that market is kind of hard to get into the optic and get a full field of view. This thing is not that. So,
and that's another thing that I saw from trying to sell a spotting scope here in the store, was so much magnification. Whether it's a inexpensive one or one of the top of the line ones, it's hard to hold it still enough for the customer to really look at without going outside, mounting it to a tripod. And so then you've got a sales guy that's taking up 15, 20 minutes just getting it set up where the customer can look through it to see if that's what they want or
Sure.
not. And with this one, you can hold it up just like you hold up a rifle scope and get a good feel for it and see the quality of optic there. And guys, be looking for that. That'll be available at SimonsSportingGoods.com here very, very soon. And Kyle, I don't know if you already have, but we'll do some product reviews. We'll put a video on it on our YouTube page. And
Yeah, we've got some, and then the people watching, they'll see we overlay a video of it while we're talking, so
and
you can see
to
that.
speak to the forgiveness, right? So on that Kodiak hunt, we're doing a lot of slow boat rides and glass, and it wasn't obviously perfect, but I was still able to spot 2 bears up at high altitude off the boat with just kind of leveraging the tripod legs and looking through it. So 17 power, and again, competitive shooting market, and that's one of the things that we noticed just going to all these PRS events is having a big field of view and a small optic that they can find different targets. Very similar to the hunting market. So
That's right. And some people that don't use spotting scopes, much, you can find a flaw in the glass on a spotting scope faster than any other optic out there.
Yep.
Period. And so it's if you buy a cheap one, you'll know it immediately, and it'll just tick you off.
Yep. And I always tell people, on the sales side, is they all look pretty good in the store. But I tell other people too is that no one hunts perfectly lit stores and so on and so forth. So get them outside, let them magnify in. But you are correct.
And that little scope too, he talked about using it when you couldn't be perfectly steady, you could back it down to 17, and it gives you a little more forgiveness.
Yep.
Rather than trying to be dialed in all the way to 40. Same thing when even if we're just holding it free-handed, we'll turn it down to 20 something, and see everything we want. Oh yeah, way it's higher than our scopes and stuff. So we really need to, like on the all-dad hunt specifically, we had like 6 rams up under a tree, and when you're looking at those 6 rams, you're trying to decide the difference in inches. They may be 1 inch
Counting
apart.
range.
So I mean, you got to really get on it. And it was perfect for that.
Wicked Blend from Browning, the ultimate in waterfowl ammunition, featuring the Wicked Wad system. Aerodynamically stabilized for greater downrange energy and extra knockdown power. Loaded with precision bismuth and plated steel shot that delivers high energy retention with consistent tight patterns for cleaner kills and easy retrieves. Wicked Blend from Browning, the best there is.
Well, talking about flaws in glass or whatever, and you look at Swarovski, which with the scopes, people can see why they should spend extra money on a scope, because they can hunt later, they can hunt earlier, they can see better, in low light situations. With the binoculars, they always ask, well, why the binoculars? Because I'm not shooting through it. I'm like, man, eye fatigue. Have you ever looked through a pair of binoculars for a little while, and then you had to turn your head and you blink your eyes and all that kind of stuff, and then you can look back at them for a minute. And two, with your binos, Thomas, you explained this to me, because I asked Thomas, I was like, why can I see through my binos so much better late than I can my scope? Not that, my scope, you can see to legal shooting light and way past when you should be hunting, but I was sitting one evening just looking through my binos. I mean, you could see, and it was the space between
your eye
and
so
he starts throwing out exit pupil and all these scientific stuff, and I'm like, man, please redneck term that for me, dude. You have to redneck it for me.
No, essentially with the binos, your eyes are getting closer to the actual glass. There's less between it and there. Let's just assume both of the same light transmission, and you're going to be right up on the optic. You're going to get a little better. And I will say, on that note too, is the guys that have our binos, it helps sell our scopes because they come in, you start
Jeff
to match,
Simmons,
you start to slowly
our
notice.
boss and owner here at Simmons Sporting Goods, Jeff Simmons, he tells people all the time that he would rather go to the stand and have forgotten his gun than his Swarovski binos.
I was just about, I've heard him say it, but I would say
100%.
I can enjoy the hunt more knowing I have binos than a gun.
Yeah.
If you go and you've hunted with bad binos growing up, this and that, and then you take those to the sand, and especially you hunt big areas like we do at times, I get a headache thinking about not having my binos. I want the hunt to be over if I don't have them. I will get down.
Get down. I will go back to camp 100% of the time if I forget my
with
binos and pick them up and go
Dude,
back.
I'm to that point turkey hunt.
Well,
I got to have them turkey hunt.
Cole and I were hunting Oklahoma a couple of years ago, and we were hunting a stand this morning. We were had this deer we were targeting, and he was pretty regular, and we're sitting there, and it's before, shooting light, and some deer come in, and Cole's like, there's deer at the feeder, but I can't tell what it is. And he had a pair of binos, that name I won't mention, but they were not Swarovski. And I said, I'm looking at him, I'm like, that's him. He's like, well, I don't know if that's him. I said, I'm telling you, it's him. I said, here. Oh yeah, that's definitely him. We'll just let it get a little lighter so we got some camera lights.
I remember that.
Well, then so the whole trip he'd be like, hey, let me see your binos. I was like, what? Yours are hanging around your neck? He's like, well, not that I don't like mine. I just want to look through yours.
That was probably about 3 or 4 years ago, but I will say that deer he looked at, he shot in the leg. And we won't get into that.
Nicked him on the leg.
Shot in the leg.
Oh, it is funny. I mean, another hunt was a Wyoming hunt, and the main guide was giving me crap. He had a Swarovski. He had an older ATS 65, which made sense for his sheep goat style hunting, and I brought the 95, and I was just there to kind of take pictures and follow my buddy who's on a bow hunt for a bighorn. And he's like, man, why did you bring this big 95? You're crazy. We're going to be packing, blah, 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 blah. By day 3, that guy was getting up before me and going out taking that 95. So, there is some truth to the improved optics being versus the weight on that. But, especially with the binos, I encourage people to use them more and more. And my dad taught me this, is that if you're just looking in the fields, you're not seeing all the deer. One of the really cool things with the Swarovski is that depth of focus. So when you're looking into that tree line, you're going to see deer that you probably would have never even seen. Right. And the old story, and I had one time we were just in a field, I believe it was somewhere near Ashland, Missouri, and I was with a guy who was kind of doing a little filming. And we had the perfect scenario. The 4-point walks dead into the middle of the field. The 6 to 7-point, he's still in the field, but he's not out. 8-point on the edge, and the big 12 never came into the field. And if we didn't nick a stick when we were turning the camera, it would have been on a wall. But it was the perfect scenario of why you need to glass those edges, why you don't just look out in the field.
And
so
look
on
for,
and so forth.
don't look for the deer, look for a piece of the deer, look for an ear or the
tail.
the white ring, look, that's, grew up, that's one thing Dad taught me is, and it's helped a lot, is don't just look for a deer standing out there. You look for either a horizontal line when you're in vertical timber or, an ear or something. And
a lot of times you aren't going to hear them. In the in hunting, our first, sense we use is our eyes. It is nice when you can hear them because that gets your heart going. But glassing into any timber, or maybe take a 30-minute break from looking at the phone for a bit when it's getting around light, because I see a lot of that. But you're out there to get away from stuff and see stuff, and that's where Swarovski shines, is low light and clarity and so on and so forth. So.
100%. 100%. You mentioned your dad, and turkey season's coming up, and I know all four of us are big turkey hunters. Your dad has been a professional turkey guide for many years?
Well,
I know he's not anymore, but he did for a long time.
No, him and I think Dave Westmoreland would run around, and I think he even has a few good Mississippi stories he probably would prefer me not to share when they were down here chasing. But he guided, I believe, heavily in Iowa, Missouri, Nebraska. We kind of call them mink states: Missouri, Iowa, Nebraska, Kansas, for a while, and that's really become his main passion. I think, as he says, anymore, he's not quite as mad at the deer like he used to be. He still goes out, sets up blinds, sets up tree stands, and all that. But yeah, getting up early, and one of those special moments I can remember is, it really wasn't that long ago, was watching him calling turkeys. I was like, God dang, this is a freaking master at work.
Yeah.
And I recorded every second of it.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Bringing hens across ditches.
Is he still guiding, or is he more
hunting? No, he hasn't guided since, heck, I've pretty much been, over 10, I'd say.
Yeah.
No, he certainly never lost the turkey fever side. And that's another thing you want to talk about, necessity to glass.
Big time.
Yeah, because they don't always yell at you.
Big time. And, I say all the time, I wish I'd never heard a turkey gobble. It's, but you don't, and, another thing, we were in New Mexico last year, and they both had their EL ranges, and I had, non-range finding binos, and judging distance out there, it's tough. I will have a rangefinder this year in the mountains, because there were a couple birds that I thought, was 200 yards, maybe he was 80, or there was one that I talked to another buddy of ours into taking a shot at. I was like, it's like 65 yards, shoot him. When we ranged it, after he missed him, we ranged it, and it was 120. So.
Yeah. No, that's no joke out there. Even as like a golfer, I'll sit there, because I'm decent at distances, right, when you're sitting there guessing all the time. And, and that terrain, good luck, bring them. On our side of things, we have the EL ranges. That's our best-selling individual unit. I tell, dealers and customers that stuff all the time. They're like, man, we're 37 now, 4,000. That's your best-selling unit. I'm like, it's a treat. A guide's dream for sure, and it's one of the most useful deals out there, because a lot of people have done the old handheld, have your binos. Sure. Things change pretty quick out there, and to have that live range and not have to switch back and forth is
it's a game changer in hunting. It has made the hunt more enjoyable, and
and the tracking assistant now
is unbelievable.
To be able to, if you take a shot at something, especially here, in these heavily wooded areas where we've got some long roads, like at my farm or Cole's farm, or even at Kyle's farm in Arcadia, where there's heavily wooded areas around you, and then we've got some right of ways that you got a 300-400 yard shot that you can take. And you take that shot on a good deer, and he runs, and you get down there looking for blood, and everything looks different. I don't know how many times
especially after dark.
I don't know how many times I've called my brother. I'm like, hey, start down there at the end, and I'm gonna look at you through the binos from the stand, and you stop where I tell you I think the deer was, and then we start looking for blood. So you talk about what the tracking assistant, how that works, and that eliminates the need to guess where your deer was standing, or your target animal, whatever it was.
Absolutely. So with tracking assistant, and I believe this is one of the product engineers doings, maybe from personal experience on a hunt, but he pitched his in the mountains, which is immediately what I thought, like, oh yeah, I can relate to that. You move 100 yards left, and what you're just looking at looks completely different. And I come down here, and you guys are like, heck, we need that down here. I was like, what? And he's
Need
like,
that on
oh,
a
the
pipeline.
swamp looks all the
Walk
same.
through that briar thicket.
Yeah, exactly. So, but what it does is when you range, so it'll save your last 3 ranges, right? In theory, your last range is the one you did before you took the shot. It has a built-in feature as well as a Bluetooth feature. So let's say you do not have cell phone service. Well, we're going to get to around that area where you shot, and I'm going to range back to my tree stand. It's going to tell me go 7 yards right, 12 yards this way. If you do have your phone, you can use our app and pull up a map, and it'll actually do 2 waypoints to show you where your last one came from, where it is, and then where you are relative to that. Pretty neat feature.
Yeah, 100%.
Just make sure you calibrate it when you get into a new area. That's the only one. That's the only trick that's going to mess you up on that. But the accuracy of it is very impressive. So.
And that's on the EL range.
Yeah, just on the EL range. Yep.
That's another video we'll do on calibrating those.
Yeah,
those
it's a
binos.
super simple.
We'll let Cole do that. He knows
twisting.
exactly how to do it.
Yep. So.
You did say the EL range is the best seller.
Yeah.
By far. Yep.
Yep. I mean, I think the ELs and SLCs made a good run there for a while, but the ranges, really took off, and that product stayed in line. I think the new one's 2 or 3 years old, maybe 3 or 4 at this point. These last 3 years have been a little wild after the COVID days, but yeah, it's consistently been there just because of its utility to the hunter. So.
Yep.
The another good thing about Swarovski stuff is the warranty that comes with it. I've got a I may say the name wrong, but Swarovski, the Helia.
Oh no, the Collis. Yeah.
Oh, it's the
Collis
Collis
Helia. Yep.
And then what's the Nova? I have the Nova.
The Nova. That's a
That's a
Swarovski
Swarovski
Nova.
Nova.
Yeah, that is a
3-12 by 56.
Yep.
I probably got it when my dad got it for me. I bet when I was 10 years old.
Yep.
And about 4 years ago, sent it off just to be gone through, and it come back looking brand new glass cleaned up. And
that's the neat thing is with Swarovski is being a true manufacturer is, we're able to work on the actual product, right?
Yeah.
So and certainly I think 30 or 40 years they try to keep parts somewhere in that range, right? I've had ones that are a bit older, a bit younger that we couldn't quite do maybe because that particular part's done, but we're actually working on the unit you have, not throwing it out and replacing with something else. So it's amazing how many of those little stories, especially consumer events where, heck, we were talking about a gentleman over at 601 Meridian. He told me he had to go check the serial box of his binos to make sure they were still the same ones because they came back brand new.
looking so
Yeah.
good.
So
Right.
that's how we
I've
fight
heard
no
that multiple
faults, and
times.
and it's that's the fun part. When we have a product that we can work on.
For somebody to make something look brand new that's been in Kyle's possession for that long, that's pretty
30
dadgum.
years
Pretty
almost.
dadgum impressive right there.
Yep. So
I knocked it out of a 24-foot ladder stand. Knocked my gun out of the 24-foot ladder stand back in college, and it hit a tree on the way down, hit the ground, and still
rocking and rolling.
Didn't even knock it off, nothing. Just
well, yeah.
Yeah. I'm not gonna recommend doing that.
Yeah,
but,
right.
I did it. No
Yeah.
problems.
I
It
need to
happens.
So
We can send your serial number in and get your warranty void.
Yeah.
We'll,
And with the warranty too, it's transferable as long as it hasn't been red flagged for stolen or something. But if you need to get it to a buddy and he wants the warranty as well, we can get that re-registered as long as it was a fair sell. So.
So talk about the warranty registry. That's something that I don't push my customers to do like I probably should, because we've never had a problem having you guys warranty something that they didn't register or whatever. But is that something I guess every customer should do that? Just
So
as
when they
soon
open
as
the box, they'll have a little
registration card.
hop on there. Yep, it's
it's online now.
no, so it'd be in the it is online, but it'd be in the box, and then they can register it through that way. That's a way for us to keep in contact, potentially for new product or whatnot too. But the idea is to get your name behind it, and then if you do come across a 24-foot drop or even larger off the side of a mountain, we got you in the system, and we'll get it taken care of from there.
You register yours, Cole?
I don't think none of
You-
us
I
have.
don't think I ever have.
You
Have
still
you
know where
registered
you still
it?
know where all your boxes are, huh?
Have you registered yours?
I
Well,
do.
don't answer a question
I
with a
do
question.
have all my.
Have you answered? If anybody, you should be asking y'all two about the boxes. I keep up with all my stuff.
I do have a closet.
I
that
have
is
all
slap
of
full
Caleb's
nothing but
turkey stuff from
boxes.
last year. He hasn't even asked about it. He's over here giving
I
me
think
a hard time.
I think
I have
got
his
most of
glove.
it
I have his
back.
shells. I have his gun. I
No,
had
I
all
got my
that
gun.
just
I
because
got
we
my
duck
gun.
hunted the other day. But I looked through my toolbox the other day, and it was all of his stuff. And I'm like, this boy ain't kept, but he's like Kyle.
Right now, after last weekend of duck hunting season, I get home and I'm like, okay, my waders are still at Kohl's, my boots are still at Kohl's, and my jacket is still at Kohl's. I leave stuff everywhere, all over the country.
What happened is somehow, Cole ended up, he was going to bring all my stuff back from me, but somehow Kyle ended up with my box call. Not my box call, my slate call.
You know exactly how that happened.
Almost didn't
that
get it
slate
back,
call
too.
that was a very important part of some turkey success.
You know exactly.
I killed 2 turkeys with that slate call,
Cole was
too,
like,
after
hey,
that.
I got everything except your slate call. I was like, well, I left it in your truck. He's like, yeah, Kyle got it out when I dropped him off at his house coming through Texas.
That thing will kill a turkey, I promise you.
So as far as, it's Cody calls, and we're going to get those back hopefully very soon. He had a little shutdown from COVID and was leasing a building. Now he's built a new building. Big story behind that, but hopefully soon we'll have Cody calls back in the store, and it's a foolproof call. I mean, I'm not a great turkey caller, and that slate call it sounds like there's a hen yelping in your back pocket when you scratch it. And what about you? Slate call, mouth call, box call?
Well,
Your dad?
Yeah, that's me. My dad's passed on. I'll be honest with you. No, I don't do much calling. I can yelp at him a little bit, but it's nothing impressive. As he said, the cadence is as important as the actual sound of it. But no, that's just something special me and him have always done. I haven't really ventured out too much my own on the turkey side of things. Deer's really where I'm starting to get my own groove, and obviously when you got that kind of help, it's always good to check what you're thinking against what he's thinking.
Right.
But
Thomas playing golf during turkey season. Okay.
Thomas, he is
Fishing,
a golfer.
golf.
He's a
a
golfer.
golfer. He got me a couple of years ago at Top Golf. He was like, you're left-handed.
Left-handed, play right.
Play right. Okay, so he plays right because it was like, look, I'll make a bet. We're going to drive the same time, but I'm going to swing left-handed with a right-handed club. I was like, what? But don't take that bet with Thomas because he'll outdrive you that way too.
Well,
That's impressive right there.
Growing up on
Big
that
time.
side of things, yep. It's been, especially during the COVID season, the golf side slacked off, and we're jumping back into it hopefully this year and get competitive again. But
Come by Simmons Sporting Goods and check out the new models of the X-Bolt rifle from Browning. The best there is. Now back to the Simmons Sporting Goods All Things Hunting Podcast.
Thomas also has possibly the most intriguing archery injury story ever.
Uh-oh.
So what was it, your sister?
yeah, sister, I guess I kind of grew up, or how I got into the really, I guess, hunting side of things, or at least in my mind, and father and mother may correct me, but bow fishing, whether it's shooting frogs or bluegill, or there was a time I shot a carp that was about as big as me. That's a great photo. But running around pond doing that, and eventually my sister got interested, and we were sitting on the side of the house, and I remember, and completely my fault on this, I don't think she'd shot a bow, or if she had, I hadn't seen it before. And I'm pointing at the target, and I'm off to the side a little bit, and there was a release, and into above the high left, above the chest, or in the chest, sorry, above the left lung.
Oh, my God.
I mean, it could have been bad.
Yeah, it could have been a lot
Thomas
worse.
could not be here with us anymore.
Yeah, it was luckily a practice tip that went in, ended up 5 or 6 stitches later, but I'll never forget, because when you're kids, you see an arrow in a chest. I watched Robin Hood, and you watched all that stuff, and you see that, you're like, oh no. So I was pretty much in shock, and of the many times I got stitches as a youngster running around, that was the only one I don't think I cried about, because I thought that was about the end of it. So if I remember right, we cut the arrow, cut the arrow, held it in, went into the ER, took that sucker out. And
Was it a field tip, or was it a fish tip?
A field tip. Oh God, thank it wasn't a fish tip. That was a heavy arrow. But yeah, went in there 5-6 stitches later, I believe, somewhere in that ballpark, and really didn't pick up a bow again until last year. To my buddy Phil, who takes me on a lot of these adventurous hunts to get the videos and photos, he passed me down one. I believe he he took a Grand Slam with, so I'm going to hold on to that one for quite a while. And I just started shooting again last fall. So, and frankly, shooting that bow at the range is a lot like hitting golf balls at the range. It's therapeutic, it's relaxing. It's I'm really excited to get back into it. The other thing is the let off on these new bows. My God, it's a whole nother game. It makes it a lot easier to make a consistent good shot. And, but anyways, yeah, it's been fun to pick up a new hobby really, with as much as the tech has changed in the bows, and hopefully fall will be arrow and a deer.
We can start with a hog if we need to this summer.
Please.
Yeah.
We can
We'll get that plan.
always kill hogs. Whatever it takes to kill the hogs, just kill them.
But you said it's therapeutic, like hitting a golf ball on the range.
Yeah.
That may not work for me. It may be only therapeutic to the people watching me hit the golf ball laughing.
All you got to do is hit one right, and then you start getting hooked.
No, that's right. No,
That is crazy. You go play 9 or go play 18. If you have one good hole,
Oh,
you're
yeah.
like, God, I'm
I've
gonna
got
go back.
this. Yeah. This is it.
But usually
I could
me,
be
after
good.
3 or 4 holes, I'm like, man, I could be doing so much other stuff right now. But I got 4 hours invested in this and $100. So I'm like,
Yeah.
I like to see how many beer per hole.
I was
like
going
an
to say that's
average.
usually the chain.
probably pretty good.
Usually it's 2 or 3 in, and you're starting to play bad. And you're like, I'm at least going to enjoy myself.
Yeah.
Where's the cart gal at? Let's get
That's
a couple
right.
beers going. Maybe
That's right.
Fireball. Yeah.
Good
Have you
time.
played golf lately, Kevin?
No. Last time I hit golf balls with y'all at Top Golf a couple of years ago in Fort Worth.
Okay.
You weren't too shabby. I mean, give yourself a little credit.
I played over Christmas.
That may have been the last time that's probably the last time I swung one, too.
Yeah, we had a tournament coming up, and they called me saying I didn't have enough rounds submitted for proper handicap. And, their thought is like, oh, he's sandbagging. I was like, I just have not played 10 rounds in the last year and a half. Like,
Yeah.
I apologize. Like, what do you want me to do about this? It's not going to help me, I can promise you.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I enjoy golf. I really do. I don't have time for it. Too much going on, too many hobbies. And any golfing I do is with Thomas at Top Golf usually is about the, and I enjoy it. And then
You're not saying you're stuck at this store too much, are you?
I am stuck. Now, when it's good weather for golfing, no, I'm not stuck at this store too much. But got a kid playing baseball. We like to turkey hunt and got a farm to maintain. And there's too many another hobby just wouldn't go over real well.
That's right.
Cole, he's busy fishing. He likes to fish a lot.
Tell you this, I like playing golf about as much as I like fishing.
Probably just as good too. Maybe better.
I like
Or
cutting
Cole,
the
you're
grass.
not a fisherman?
No, I like
Oh,
cutting
hell.
the grass and weed eating just as much as I like fishing.
Yeah, I was
Oh,
gonna say,
Lord.
fishing's probably the same for you. Then you're out there on the boat thinking about what
if
else
I'm
you could
fishing,
get done.
No, if I'm fishing, I'm thinking of where can I move a deer stand? Where can I do this? How can I do this deer hunting? I'm always thinking I would rather be thinking about or doing something
Right.
outside. Don't get me wrong. I got 2 little boys, and they love to catch. We got the pond, it's got brim and bass. I take them fishing, and they like it for about 10 minutes, Or one of them loves it, but that's my fishing. That's it. And then
Advisory fishing.
you tell me we're gonna catch 100 tomorrow, I still may not go.
Because
I
then you're
may
thinking
not.
about how many you got to clean.
Well, it ain't even that. You could ask me to come over, and I'll help you clean them. I don't mind that. I just start thinking about other stuff I need to go do instead of going
I
fishing.
get it.
Just ain't my deal. But then again, I do go some, but that's not something I look forward to.
Well, we'll take a little break and get back. I'm going to ask Thomas to go through the scope lineup for us. I've got some questions for him on it.
Swing away.
Since the beginning, Browning has strived to be an industry leader in innovation and technology. Speed, reliability, and one of the lightest recoiling shotguns on the market today, the Maxxis 2. Browning, the best there is.
All right, welcome back to Simmons Sporting Goods All Things Hunting Podcast. We've been talking a little hunting and little optics with Thomas Schuenemeyer from Swarovski Optik. Thomas, run through, we hit binos, we hit rangefinders, we hit spotters, but, really where we sell big numbers is in y'all's rifle scopes.
Yeah.
From the Z3 all the way to the Z8i, and Z3, Z5 are 1-inch scopes, Z6, Z8 are 30 mil, and the general idea out there is the bigger tube, the more light you transmit, which is not the case. And why don't you touch on that and kind of go through the lines, and then
Yeah,
maybe hit the ballistic turret, since that's something that we all use and we sell really well.
Yeah. No, it's one of those things that I deal with a lot, and I get why people think it, right? Bigger tube, more light. The properties of light and water are quite different. But let's just say all else the same, a 1 inch and a 30 mil are on the same magnification, same objective size, ocular size, all that. The 1 inch and the 30 are going to gather the same amount of light. What you do get into, and especially with the European optics being in the 30 mil generally, is their better glass is placed in that 30 mil, and the 1 inch being quote unquote a budget. But now, one of your biggest differences, at least with us, is range of adjustment, internal range of adjustment. So if you look at a rifle scope, you've got the tube, but there's also the inner workings where what's referred to as a rector tube system. That's what controls your up, down, left, right, if you will, windage, vertical elevation. So the 1 inch stuff, generally speaking, is going to have a little less range of adjustment. One blessing we certainly are benefiting from is a lot of these new bullets, or the BCs and muzzle velocities. These things are kicking butt nowadays. Yeah,
there's no
doubt. When a guy maybe want to jump to a 30 mil for a little more range of adjustment, in the past, he can get away with the 1 inch, with some of these 6.5s, or now the 6.5 PRC stuff, 400 or 500 yards even with a Z3, and potentially more with this new 7 PRC. So ran the ballistics on it on just a Z8, and just with our turret system, get you out to 1150.
Well,
we can get into ethical shots and all that at some point if you want, but
yeah, but that's
the
pretty
point
solid
being
to
is,
be able to dial to 1150 with a hunting scope.
Yeah, and you can run a custom turret or just run our color code system. But yeah, anyways, back to kind of the 1 inch 30 mil thing. A lot of what I'm seeing a lot in the market, whether it's custom gun builders or even some of your major manufacturers, is your people are chasing lightweight rifles.
Yep.
And one way to eliminate a lot of weight really quickly is not just the rifle scopes, but being able to mount that thing lower with lower set rings. So when we're chasing these 5-7 pound guns, people are looking at every aspect of their rifle, and optics, I would argue, is the most important of them, but they're definitely taking a look at it too. So we've seen a huge surge in our 1 inch market, and it's been, for the first time since I've worked with the company, back orders for, the last 3 years during the COVID, during a big pickup in new customers, or just customers getting back outside, new builds and such. So,
right. If somebody was chasing light, they want the best, they want to gather the most light they can. What would you say?
Big objective,
what would they need
low
to look at? Big objective in 56 millimeter, and then low.
High-end glass quality.
Yeah, and first off is always glass quality, and then you jump into your bigger objective bells, and again, trade-off is higher rings, more weight, so on and so forth. But as a whitetail hunter, I'm not doing a 4,000 climb. You're
right.
parking your ATV or RV, whatever you're parking, and walk into your stand a couple hundred yards. So yeah, the weight's definitely worth it.
What do you run on your mountain gun? What would you recommend somebody?
3.5 to 18 by 44 is one of our most populars for that realm. I don't know, 4 years back, we introduced one that was pretty southeast based, but it's a 2.4 to 12 by 50. It actually does have some improved light gathering because it was a rebuild. Would be another one I'd look at, but on my whitetail gun, it's a 3 to 18 by 50 ballistic turret.
Right.
It's a 308, and I got a 200 yard zero. Thing gets me out to 750. I personally not going to shoot at an animal with a 308 at 750, but it does have that ability. So that's one of the slights we'll get, and part of that is we want to increase our internal glass size as much as possible. The analogy I make is like with a larger TV, it's able to show the spectrum of a color, more colors in that spectrum, the larger the internal glass. So that would be my 3 to 18 kind of thought process. But if I'm going super lightweight build, 3.5 to 18 by 44, plenty of adjustment. A lot of your Western style hunting is less low light. It's not to say the 44 is not going to get you plenty anywhere, but it's not maximizing, maybe like 56. But that was back to the terms we were talking about with Caleb with exit people. That's a big one that kind of qualifies how much light's getting to your eye. So let's say we have a 56 millimeter scope and we're on 10 power. Well, that exit pupil, and it's a little floating circle dot in your scope that you see when you're looking through it, would be about 5.6 millimeters. Why is that important? Well, your eye, when it gets darker, starts to dilate to a larger, and the more of your dilated pupil you can cover, the brighter that optic's going to be. Right. The quick analogy is we have an 8x56 millimeter binocular in the SLC. It's a 7 millimeter exit pupil, which is plenty to cover your eye in low light. Trade-off is it's a pretty heavy sucker, right? Mm-hmm. So that's the other thing I like to tell people is there is no perfect optic. Try and fit yourself for what you're doing to the best of your ability. Go with that. But that also gives me to my next point, and probably Caleb, you can attest to this, is a 10x42 binocular is your best seller and probably every brand you carry. Yeah. And it's the jack of all trades. It's mid-weight, mid-size. It's got a 4.2 millimeter exit pupil, so it's kind of the best of all worlds.
I'm going to say 98, and I don't have hard numbers on this, but I'm going to say 98% of our bino sales across all the brands, from the $100 price range to the $4,000 price range, it's a 10x42.
Yeah. And then you get into more of the specifics, like the 1556 is a good one for your competitive shooters because you still have the magnification, but good field of view. Guys going out west. Or you can go down to like the 8x30 CLs, which is what I'd recommend to, and the NLs is what I'd recommend to your guys that are turkey hunting. Lightweight. They're not called a pocket, but I've had plenty of scenarios where I've just put a NL 8x32 in my pocket.
It'll go in your shirt pocket. Front shirt pocket.
Yeah. And you're still getting top quality glass. So one thing I do like to really emphasize is glass quality is number one, because you can have a smaller objective scope with against a big objective one of a lesser quality, and it's still going to outperform it, or
Yeah, in low light, it's going to be better. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of my take on that.
I believe that. I shoot the Z8i on my 6.8 Western, and on that mule deer. We talked about it on a couple podcasts ago that I was dialed in, and deer was at 400 yards, and it was getting later and later and later and later, and I'm self-filming, and when I shot, I didn't feel like it was that low a light, and then when you look at the footage, you're like, it is almost dark.
It is, yeah.
But then I shot him at 400 yards, and it's legit.
Pretty cool, even as an employee, when I get out there and I still get the wow factor, because it's 100% true. And that's one of my favorite things working for the company is showing people at the store, and you see, especially with the kids, they're like, whoa, is getting that. But when you're in the field, when you're looking out and then you lower your binoculars, it's really dark, and you pull them back up, you're like, why is this like this? Why is this the way that it is?
Like the last 20 minutes for sure, and the first 20 minutes glued to my eyes. They don't, just
back to that original story.
Scanning,
the big ones hang on the edge till the last second, and if they ever come to the field, right? So.
Oh yeah.
Too, and I touched on it briefly, but one of the benefits of our current line is the ballistic turret system. It's in the Z3s and the 4-12, and then pretty much across the board up from there. In hunting scenarios, I like to eliminate as many variables as possible. That ballistic turret system is great. It's essentially you pre-code either the 3-color system or order a custom dial with it, but I'm going to range that animal, turn to the number, and shoot. Now, if you really understand your ballistics, understand your rifle, have your dope chart, and truly understand your gun, all 4 people going that route as far as knowing their dope and dialing external turrets. That's great too. But for simple use and quick use,
that's what I was going to touch on. Simple use. I mean, that's something that we can show you how to set up the turret right here in the store on the app. It takes a couple minutes. It's so easy, and I mean you can. Most of your factory ammo is preloaded into the app. So you select your ammo. You put in sight height above bore, average conditions, and where you're going to zero at, and then where do you want those holdovers, and boom, it's set.
It is, and it's not going to be the difference between you missing or hitting, because I remind people it's not a target turret. You got an 18-inch kill zone depending on your animal, right? Mm-hmm. You're going to be in the zone.
Yep. No, I've shot a 12-inch plate out to 700 yards with mine just straight off the app and using information off the box from ammo I was shooting.
The shoots we've done here, we showed up blind with the gun and turret system, and we just went through the app and set up targets out to 6, 7.
We did the same at FTW.
Yeah, I mean it's just I think as my boss said, garbage in, garbage out. If you give it good information, good data, you're gonna hit where you're gonna hit. I do always recommend if people are going to start jumping past 500, 600, 700 yards is to go true it.
Yeah.
Because your muzzle velocity will change over time, over temperature, over use, so on and so forth. So it's always a good idea to keep that information in the back of your head in case you start, seeing some changes. Because as you break that barrel in, she's going to get hotter.
Yeah, after about 200 rounds, your barrel is considered broke in. So until you shoot 200 times, it's changing all the time. Like just
You're talking
very,
20,
very,
40,
very,
60 feet per
yeah,
second.
very minute changes, but it's changing until it's broke in. Then once it's broke in, there's not as much change after that.
But yeah, no.
For somebody to get 200 rounds, most you shooters, that's a
Most
long
people
time.
20
They may not
year,
ever get it.
Years,
Some people
man.
don't put a 28
Yeah.
round, 200 rounds to a rifle.
And yeah, depending on the barrel, you got different break-in points or whatnot. But the reason I mentioned is just to keep an eye on it, or say something goes haywire with it. But yeah,
If somebody to get the function of the BTS system, you mentioned in the Z3, the 4-12 scope, is it offered in everything from that one up?
so pretty much, I believe it's about 12 magnification and up. Don't quote me on that, but the thought process behind that is those lower mag scopes people aren't typically dialing out as far, right? You can usually, most of us grew up on 30-06 or 308, 0 at 200, inch and a half at 100, and hold on top of its back at 3.
Yeah.
That's about as far as Dad wanted us shooting anyway. So.
And that works just fine for
Yep.
if you know where your gun's hitting, depending on the
Yep.
caliber. That
Yeah,
works just
not
fine.
knocking that.
Yeah.
And I
Not
like
at all.
I like the color coded turret
Yeah.
too.
So once that custom's done, and it doesn't matter to the optic company, it's cut for that. Right?
And the confidence level you have of shooting an animal, man. When we and
Not
Kyle went
having
on
to
that
hold
all
over,
day,
yeah.
when we went on that all day hunt, and it didn't take us long at all that afternoon. After y'all left that day, we sighted in our guns after we did that shoot. And man, it was so quick and so easy. And we got there and we dialed one time, boom, shot him,
Yep.
done for at 334 yards. I won't forget it. It was my first day, and it was just so easy, and the confidence you had, and it was just unbelievable. And that's why I didn't
That was
like
a pretty good video too. You melted that all.
And I didn't like the whole. And then if you're like, man, I don't like holding it over his back. I don't like, man.
You ain't got to do that.
Yeah.
Dial it and squeeze the trigger.
It takes the doubt out.
Yeah, and that goes into the first focal plane, second focal plane. Well, what this does is allow us to have a second focal plane. For you guys that don't know, first focal is where your reticle magnifies at the same rate as the animal. Second would be your reticle stays the same and the animal magnifies. With that turret system, you don't need a first focal.
Right.
Other point being is it allows us to have these nice clear reticles, or maybe even the plex that has subtensions that are almost to the center that you don't
something
have to,
where it's not too much going on. With,
Yeah.
you got a good aiming point. And
lightweight, optical clarity, and
Right.
ease of use are pretty big factors in our game.
If you do like a Christmas tree reticle or holdover reticle, or however how you want to say it, they make this BRH that it works the same way in the app. You put your 0 in, and it shows you where your holdovers are on your subtensions.
Yep.
But the only downfall to that, to me, I'm a ballistic turret guy myself, is it being second focal plane. Those subtensions are only true on your highest magnification.
Yeah, you could technically run it for half, but
then
what
I
is half?
also get into that with people at the counter all the time. They want first focal plane because they want to hold over, and they want to work on all magnifications. And I'm telling them, I'm like, if you're holding over, you're on your maximum magnification anyway, more than likely.
Right.
So
Yep.
that's kind of
or you should be.
That's kind of relevant
Right.
You're
for
not.
sure for hunting scope. Yeah.
Yeah. And it allows the ability, as we were talking in low light with exit pupils, it allows you to back off in low light and just use a system and not have to worry about any of that.
Correct. Before we wrap this up, what hunts you got planned this year?
Mostly this throwing an arrow in a whitetail this fall. I'm sure we have something.
We got a little
we're talking
something
worked
we're
up.
in the works. Thomas is going to try to walk me to death, I think, in the Alps in Austria.
Oh, I forgot y'all were going on that trip.
Yeah,
For a
Well, you know
chamois?
me. I'm
Is that
in
May?
good.
When are y'all going?
I think
it'll be probably
September.
mid-September.
Oh, September.
So
So
Dang,
Is that
I'm
for,
surprised.
that's for a chamois?
yeah.
yeah. So
That's
that'll be
gonna be awesome.
yeah.
You know, I mean, you can look at me and tell I'm in mountain climbing shape, ready to roll, baby.
And there's no helicopters involved?
There's not a helicopter.
Oh, you better
involved,
you better walk to
Gets-
Nashville
gets-
tomorrow.
I'm not walking to Nashville.
You can walk enough.
Do what? Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
Yeah.
a lot of walking there.
There hadn't been any of these.
that's no joke though.
Pretty
I mean,
great. No, it's
yeah.
not. And especially if you don't get on the first pack of them, then you're going to the top.
How many of y'all got going with you?
Be just me.
Just y'all two?
Yeah, but
That's cool.
potentially
Well, I
Mr.
keep,
Craig too. So
I'll tell
I try
a
to
story
keep
real quick.
Thompson in mind.
Caleb's
Hey,
going.
I can shoot a long ways. So.
He's
Yeah.
600 weight. No, we need to get to 200.
Yeah, they're
no,
gonna
we
want to get
don't.
you
He's
the,
good.
not 300 yards, but 300 meters over
We're
there.
finna
and
try this
hopefully close.
ballistic turret here and make
Yeah.
sure it's accurate.
You ain't kidding. Let's
Yeah.
see.
That'll-
Practice what you've been preaching.
That's right.
Yeah, that'll be a trip. So
It is, but I'm already a little nervous, Caleb, for you.
Thank you.
It's just
Kyle.
no joke.
Instilling confidence in me.
I went to New Zealand and
There's the ultimate
killed
one,
a
yeah.
chamois, and we busted the chamois twice before we could get on him trying to film it and
Oh, yeah.
stuff, and he kept going up, and he kept going up, and Matt Forsyth that works for Kuyu, good cameraman, he was filming me, and so I mean it was, and I feel like me, him, and this guide we had, the guide was legit. And so we did bust him twice, and we got back on him twice. But the guy looked, and then the last time we got on him, we found him again. That the guy looked at me, he says, he says, if we bust him this time, it's over. Like there's no more. Hunt's over, going home empty-handed, no more. And the chamois was laying down.
How far was
this
he?
Not
When
very
y'all
far.
were busting him?
100-something yards.
Y'all didn't want
We just couldn't, the way the rocks and everything was, we couldn't get to him until it was too late. You know, he would bust us on the edge of these cliffs. Well, we found him. He's actually laying down under this overhang, and he says, if we bust him again, this is it. We're going home because we won't be able to make it back in time before dark. And Matt filmed probably one of the best. He's legit. I don't know how he got it, but as we kind of normally we were kind of peeking over and trying to get all set up and all that. No, this time it was like, Matt, you just film over my shoulder, and when I come around the corner and can see him, I'm gonna shoot him. And as we come around the corner, you can see the video, the chamois sees us and jumps up and spins to run off, and I'm shooting as he spins to run off, and I hit him right in the base of the ear and drop him. Somewhat luck, but we killed him. We went home with one.
Dead is dead.
Dead is dead. That's right.
Caleb would tell you that.
Yeah.
Dead. Hey, I don't. Folks jack with me all the time for shooting a crossbow. Why are you shooting a crossbow? I'm like, because it's not rifle season. Hey, I'll run over him with a truck, shoot him with a gun. I don't
right.
how you get him dead, you got him dead.
You're dang right. I killed this deer with a crossbow because it wasn't rifle season.
That's exactly
that's
right.
a good say. Yeah.
Ain't no purist on here.
No, none whatsoever.
especially
Cole,
when you work that hard for them, it's if they're down, it's a blessing.
yeah, it's
'cause-
Cole worried me a little last turkey season because he's usually the anti-purist of the group. He's pretty much a killer, and where he's like, man, you shoot this bird. I'm gonna wait till I find a turkey I can mount. I'm like, hey, what? Who are? And finally, a couple of days go by. He's like, first 2-year-old bird I see this morning's going down. I was like, heck yeah.
I was just being nice. I was being nice. I knew Caleb he needed to kill one, so I had a couple more days than he did.
Well, Thomas, we got some places in Texas and in Louisiana where you can run an arrow through one. So
yeah, I'd like to do that and then test out
we'll
that
definitely
thermal
set that up.
on them too. So
Heck
That's
yeah.
another one that we'll do a product review on. Sworo's got a new thermal out, and hopefully we'll have some adapters coming soon so that if you get the Z6 or Z5 or any of their rifle scopes or any other manufacturer's rifle scopes.
yeah,
With a 50, takes a
Yeah.
50 bell,
50
objective.
any
or-
of the
There's
bells,
different
right?
size of adapters, so
But-
you can run a Swarovski thermal clip-on with pretty much any rifle scope
Yep.
here pretty quick, and we'll do some product reviews on that. And we appreciate you being on here with us,
Yeah.
Thomas.
Yeah.
And
Fun.
guys,
Thank you guys. That was-
be looking for those reviews and look for that new spotter on SimonsSportingGoods.com.
See y'all.
Thank you, Thomas.
Yep, thank you.
What is it that distinguishes the best? A wanting to defy reason, disrupt industry, and captivate the imagination. To be better, you should look further, dream bigger. Aspire by Bandit. Superior.